Okay, for this tutorial, we're going to be doing some modifications to this model. Now, we're not going to take this model and add like 50 pounds of muscle. We're not going to take an image of someone that weighs 250 pounds and change them to 120 pounds. For this assignment, we're looking for small modifications. We're going to be doing so with the Liquify tool. Now, you can do those huge modifications if you want to take someone and make them look like they lose 120 pounds, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of patience. So I'm just going to show you how to get started here. So very first thing we're going to do is we're going to duplicate the layer just to make sure we have a backup copy. Okay. Now on layer 0 copy, we're going to go filter, liquify. Okay, so we have a couple tools over here. There's a forward warp tool. We have the reconstruct tool, the pucker tool, the bloat tool, the push left tool. We have a hand tool to navigate, and a zoom tool. There's also a zoom on the bottom left. Over here on the right, we have all of our options. You probably want to put a check mark next to advanced mode. This gives you a couple more options to work with in the filter tool. Okay, so very first thing we're going to do, we're going to come in here and we're going to pucker her belly button. This usually gives an effect of making the model look a little bit more skinnier. Now, probably the most important attribute to pay attention to over here on the right is going to be the brush rate. This is how fast the modification occurs. So if I put a brush rate at 100 and I give one click, that's how much modification occurred. So you kind of want to always have this. I usually work with this down in the 30s. That way I can dab at the area that I'm modifying. Okay, so that's just a little bit smaller. Okay, we can zoom back out. Okay, now we can use this next tool, the forward warp tool, to redefine hips and edges. So let's zoom a little bit more back in. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring out her hips just a little bit. So I'm going to click and hold. Okay, and we'll go to the other side. And on this side, just because of the angle, I'm not going to do too much, just a little bit. And move this out just a little bit. Okay, now this area, there's kind of like this weird indentation going on here. So I'm going to go ahead and start pulling this out. In this area just a little bit. I'm going to make my tool bigger. Okay, now we can focus on the inner thighs as well. So we'll make this thigh. We'll bring these out just a little bit. We'll make sure they're still smooth. Okay, and then we'll bring this out just a little bit as well. Okay, then zoom out. Okay, now let's go ahead and we're going to make her breast a little larger, and there are a couple things that I want to point out when you're doing a modification like this. So we're going to use the bloat tool. We're going to zoom in a little bit on the chest. Okay. Now when you bloat the breast, you want to make sure you do it evenly across the entire pectoral muscle. Okay, so we're going to go, we'll start at the top. And I'm just dabbing around. Now what happens when you do this too much is the pixels actually start to look blurry. So we're gonna have to go back over this. Want to make sure we get the shadow as well. well, in the end, we're going to have to go back over this with the sharpen tool to get some of that fine texture back from the texture that's on the bikini itself. Now, for this assignment, I'm going to be looking for modifications, but in the end, it still has to look realistic. Okay, so let's go there. That looks good. Okay, so let's zoom out. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. We're going to hit OK. And we can toggle the visibility. That way we can see the original, then the after. The original, and the after. Original, after. Now, if we zoom in a little bit on the texture, so this is the texture before. It looks a little bit more crisp and clear. Afterwards, the texture itself just looks a little blurry. So to fix this, on layer 0 copy, we're going to come up here and we're going to use the sharpen tool. And let's adjust the size of the sharpen tool. Okay, now I'm only targeting the texture on the bikini. So I'm clicking and holding and dragging around. So that's one pass. And then I'm going to click and hold and drag around. That's 2 passes. And I think that should be enough. So 1 pass and 2 pass. Okay, so let's zoom out. And I'm going to toggle the before and after. Okay, you can notice her belly button, her hips, her thighs. Okay, so this is, in summary, how you do body modifications. You can experiment and you can actually do more modifications on the face, the nose, the lips. You can also do the biceps and triceps, you know, whatever you want to do. Just make sure you don't do too much modifications on the face, because in the end it might start to look a little blurry. So you can go over sections with the sharpen tool.